Good morning, guys. We are going to have another class of social studies, this time in chapter 2, lesson 2, Explorers for Spain. Yesterday we were learning about navigation, the tools that they were using. Do you remember the astrolabe, the magnetic compass, the maps? We were talking about Prince Henry, Eric the Red, and some other explorers. So today we are going to continue talking about explorers, but this time from or for Spain. Remember that there were a lot of countries competing from Europe, competing for finding routes to Asia. So I need you to take your books, open your books in page 44. At the top of your books, you are going to find a picture. And in that picture, you are going to see a man. That man was Christopher Columbus. And he was with a king, the king of Spain. Christopher Columbus, I know you have heard about him. Christopher Columbus was the explorer that came to Honduras and discovered on Honduras in 1502. So Christopher Columbus is in that picture with the king of Spain. The king is saying something to Christopher Columbus. So in this chart of here, you are going to write, what do you think the king is saying to Christopher Columbus? What do you think the king is saying to do, Christopher Columbus to do in the expedition that he is going to do in that moment? So write in that chart, what do you think he is asking to Christopher Columbus to do? You can stop the video and do that activity. Okay, after doing this activity of writing in the chart, you are going to repeat the vocabulary word with me. Here we have the vocabulary words. So I'm going to repeat, and I want you to repeat them after me. Patron, patron. Conquistador, conquistador. Expedition, expedition. Empire, empire. Circumnavigate, circumnavigate. And the last one, colony, colony. In the class, meanwhile we are reading the class, the book, I will explain the meaning of each vocabulary word. So let's continue. I told you to underline this part. Columbus wanted to find a new route to Asia by sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean. Spain was in here, and Columbus wanted to find a route for going to Asia, but a different route. Other explorers had already found a route for going to Asia, but by this side, by the east coast of Asia, by here. But Columbus wanted to find a route by this side using the Atlantic Ocean, and he wanted to do this by the west coast of Asia. So he wanted to do that expedition, but he had a problem. And the problem that he had is that he didn't have money. He was very courageous, but he didn't have the money for the expedition. So I want you to underline that also. So he needed someone to pay the expedition. So he went to the king of Portugal, and Columbus asked Portugal king to fund his voyage. But do you think Portugal king paid for his voyage, for his expedition? No, Portugal said no to Christopher Columbus. So he had to look for someone else in order for him to be able to do the expedition. So King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, they were from Spain, the Spain rulers, agreed to become Columbus' patrons. In other words, they said to Columbus, we are going to pay the expedition. So, but what is a patron? Because this one is a vocabulary word from this lesson. So a patron gives financial support or helps economically to another person or cause. So in this case, they were becoming the patrons of Christopher Columbus because they were paying for the expedition he wanted to do. So Spain said, yes, we are going to pay for your expedition. But do you know why? Why the rulers or the kings of Spain were so interested in paying the expedition of Christopher Columbus? I want you to underline with me the first reason is that the kings of Spain hoped or wanted to earn money. The Spanish rulers wanted to earn money. And also, they wanted Christopher Columbus to find gold and spices in Asia. And also, why did they need money? Because they were in a fight with another country and they needed money to pay for that recently fight that they had. Also, Ferdinand and Isabella wanted to spread Christianity and also to start new Spanish settlements. So there were 4 reasons for Spain to say yes to Christopher Columbus. The first one was they wanted money. The second one, they hoped to bring gold and spices from Asia. The third one was they also wanted to spread Christianity. That one is to spread Christianity or to talk about Jesus was okay, but they were doing that by force. They were forcing the people to become or to accept the religion they were practicing in that time. And also the last was they were establishing settlements in the new land that they were discovering. So once Columbus had the money, Columbus sailed from Spain with 90 men on 3 ships. Do you remember the names of those caravels? La Pinta, La Niña, and La Santa Maria. In those 3 ships, Christopher Columbus was doing the expeditions, and he did 4 expeditions. And if you remember, in the 4th expedition, Honduras was discovered. Okay, I want you to go to the other page, page 45. But before going to page 45, you have to answer the question number 1 in your book. That is in page 44. In that, you have to read the picture, what is in the picture, and circle what you have to circle in there. Read it and do it by yourself. So now let's go to page 45. In page 45, if you remember, Columbus wanted to go to what place? To Asia, right? But instead, I want you to underline this, Columbus believed that they had reached Asia, but instead, his ships had landed on an island in the Caribbean Sea. If you see the map, you will see that instead of going from Spain to Asia, what Columbus did was to navigate to an island that is in the Caribbean Sea. So he didn't go to Asia. Instead, he went to an island in the Caribbean Sea. Also, I want you to underline this part of here. Columbus made 3 more voyages to the Americas. And if you remember, in the last one, in the fourth one, was when he discovered Honduras. And in 1494, he founded the Isabela in what is now the Dominican Republic. This was the first European town in North America. Okay, so now we are going to answer number 2. And it's really, really easy because in this part, you have the answer in this part. So if you remember, here we have the reasons of the Columbus voyages. What were the reasons Columbus had for going to the expedition? Here we have to find a route to Asia by sailing west. Also to spread Christianity. What else in here and what else in here? Okay, as I know that you already know, if not, go back to your book in page 44 and in there you are going to find the reasons and answer the reasons in there. So we are going to continue. You can stop the video and copy or answer the questions and then we can continue. Let's go to page 46. Cortés and the Aztecs. In here we are going to learn about another explorer. He was Cortés. In the early 15th, I'm reading here, a group of Spanish soldiers, later called conquistadors or conquerors, arrived in America. So this one is another word of the vocabulary, conquistador. A conquistador is a person who goes to another land and wants to have the control, the power of that land. So that person is a conquistador. For example, Christopher Columbus and the men that came with him were conquistadors because they took the control of our land when they came and discovered Honduras. So Hernán Cortés, I want you to circle this name because it was another explorer. Hernán Cortés came to one part of the America that we know or we have heard about it, to Mexico. He led an expedition or organized journey to Mexico in 1519. So an expedition is a trip that someone prepares and organizes very well, and generally an expedition has a specific purpose. So in this case, those expeditions made for the explorers, the purpose of those expeditions was to discover new lands and to take those lands for the country they were coming from. So Hernán Cortés went to Mexico because Hernán Cortés had heard about the Aztec Empire. Here we have Hernán Cortés and here we have the Aztec Empire. The Aztec Empire was located in what we know now as Mexico. Specifically, in the capital of this empire was in Tenochtitlan. And this empire was very rich. So Hernán Cortés wanted to conquer this empire. But this empire had a leader, and that leader was Moctezuma. Moctezuma was a very, very rich man. And when Moctezuma knew that they have visits, Moctezuma welcomed, I want you to underline this, Cortés, and gave him what? Gifts. But instead of Cortés saying thank you, look at here, and I want you to read and underline this. Cortés responded by taking Moctezuma prisoner. And after taking Moctezuma prisoner, the Aztec Empire didn't have the leader. So the soldiers that came with Hernan Cortés attacked the empire and destroyed the empire. And in that way, they took the control of the empire, of the people, and they took the valuable things, the gold, all the valuable things they found in the empire. So now I want you to do by yourself number 3. In number 3, you have to look at the picture. You have to circle the weapons and clothing that helped the Spaniards win the war against the Aztecs. So if you see the difference, the Aztecs were defending themselves using spears only, and the clothing they were using was not appropriated for fighting or for a war. So I want you to look at the other side, the side of Hernan Cortés, the men of Hernan Cortés, and circle what things helped them to win the war, the weapons and what else, and the kind of armor they were using, the kind of clothes, right? Okay, so let's continue in the other page, page 47. Ferdinand Magellan. This one was another explorer that you were writing about, the biography. Ferdinand Magellan in 1519, another explorer set sail from Spain. Remember that all the explorers of these lessons were from Spain. And that explorer was Ferdinand Magellan. So I want you to circle that name in red or in another color for you to have it visible for you. And also he had the same purpose of the others, to find a route to Asia. Excellent. All of them wanted to arrive into Asia and find a better route to Asia, or the best route to Asia. But nevertheless, Ferdinand and his men, I wanted to see this map that I have here. Here we have Spain. He wanted to go to Asia. Remember, Asia is by here. And instead of going to Asia, remember that they were exploring. They didn't know the route very well. So instead of going to Asia, what he did was this. He came to the tip of America and he found the Pacific Ocean. Here we have the Pacific Ocean. And he gave he surrounded the planet, and he arrived to Asia, but by the other side, and finally to Spain. So in other words, he circumnavigated the planet, and that is another vocabulary word of the lesson, circumnavigate. He was the first to circumnavigate or to sail completely around the world. It was by accident, but he did it. He was the first one to circumnavigate around the planet or around the world. But here in the Philippines, by this side, I want you to read and to underline this. Magellan was killed in a battle with native people in the Philippines. So he started the expedition, but he couldn't return home. Only one of 5 ships that he had, only one of those ships returned home. So in number 4, we have a Venn diagram that you have to complete. And you have Magellan by this side and Cortés by this side. A Venn diagram, remember, that is the differences in here and what do they have in common in the middle. So the middle is already done for you, and it says both of them, Magallanes and Cortes, traveled from Spain, because both of them were from Spain, to the Americas. And in the same year, they left Spain in 1519. So I want you to write, in this part, I want you to write a difference in the expedition that Magallanes did and a difference, in the expedition that Cortes did. And I will help you with one. With one clue. For example, Cortes wanted to go to Asia or not? And Magallanes wanted to go to Asia or not? Which one of them wanted to go to Asia? Magallanes, right? Cortes wanted to go to the Aztec Empire. So that one can be one difference. So you can write in each part of them what was the difference in Cortes' expedition and what was the difference in Magallanes' expedition. So let's move to page 48. Let's go to page 48 and exploring the north. Here we have another explorer that was Juan Ponce de Leon. And I want you to circle that name, Juan Ponce de Leon. Okay, you can do it in another color for being more visible for you. Juan Ponce de Leon was another explorer from Spain, and he settled the island of Puerto Rico in 1508. Why Puerto Rico? Well, because there he had heard myths about a magical spring that could turn all people young. That means he heard that in Puerto Rico was like a magical fountain that could turn the old people into young people. But those stories were not true. So, but he continued looking for that fountain, magical fountain. And he went out of Puerto Rico and he arrived into Florida, Miami, Florida, okay? But in Florida, the native people in there defended themselves and didn't allow Juan Ponce de Leon to establish in the Florida. But Ponce de Leon was probably the first European to visit Florida. So even though he couldn't establish a settlement in Florida, he was the first European who visited Florida. Hernando de Soto was other Spaniard that came from Spain to explore the region. He sailed to the region with 10 ships and 700 men. So he had a very, very big crew. He was also looking for new lands, and he was also looking for treasures, but he never found treasure. Here we have Hernando de Soto. He was looking for treasure, but he never found the treasure. He never found treasure, but his expedition stole food and other valuable items from Native Americans. As they didn't find treasure, they said, okay, we are going to steal, to take the food and valuable items that were from Native Americans. So number 5 says, write the answer to each question about the Spanish explorers. A. What led Ponce de Leon to travel north from Puerto Rico? Why he traveled from Puerto Rico to the north, to Florida? So answer in there. And in B says, who began an expedition on the Pacific coast? Who was the one who began the expedition on the Pacific coast? So stop the video and answer those questions. And then we can continue. And let's go to the other page, page 49. We have another explorer. And this explorer is Francisco Vázquez de Coronado. He also wanted to search for treasure in the Americas. Once they heard about the Americas, many of the explorers from Spain and from Europe wanted to come to the Americas because they knew it was a rich land and they were expecting to find treasures. He also had heard rumors of a rich kingdom to the north called Cibola. And this mythical land was supposed to be filled with gold, silver, and jewels. So he wanted all those valuable things. Nevertheless, but none had found it. He couldn't find anything of those things. But Coronado claimed land for Spain. That means Coronado said, okay, I didn't find treasure, but this land is now going to be for Spain. And he also attacked and killed many native peoples. So explorers coming from Spain or from Europe was a good or bad thing for native people. A bad thing, right? Because they were losing their lands, they were being attacked and killed. So it was not a good thing for Native American people. Like De Soto, Coronado found no treasure and he returned to Mexico very disappointed. He didn't find treasure, so he returned to Mexico very disappointed. In question number 6, we have to make conclusions. We have 3 facts. We have to read the facts, and then based on the facts, we have to make a conclusion. So let's read fact number 1. Ponce de Leon, that was one of the explorers, explored Florida, but his settlements, in the new land failed. So he went to Florida, but he couldn't establish settlements in there. Fact number 2. We are reading here. Fact number 2. De Soto was another explorer, never found treasure, but he learned much about the people and land in the southeast. And the third fact was Coronado, that was the other explorer, opened the southwest to the Spaniards, but he never found great riches. So what conclusion can we make based on these facts? The 3 of them were explorers, the 3 of them came to the Americas, but no one of them found what? What they were looking for, right? So what conclusion can we make? Okay, I will help you with this one. And we can say that Spanish explorers discovered new lands because they were discovering new lands, but did not always achieve what they hoped to accomplish. Even though they discovered new lands, they didn't find what they were looking for. Let's go to our last page of today, Settling in the Americas, page 50. Here we have that in 1535, Spanish established a colony, the colony of New Spain in North America. So what is a colony? This one was another word of the vocabulary. If you see here in the map, we have For example, this part of here that says New Spain. What is in orange color, it was Spain was saying that was their land. So these ones were all the conquest or the conquerors came to this land and they were claiming this land as being from Spain. So they call this new land as New Spain. So a colony, I want you to underline the concept, is a settlement area from the country that rules it. So in here, in New Spain, people were coming from Spain, establishing settlements in another place, and they were saying that these places belonged to Spain. So those places were called colonies, and the name that they gave to those places were New Spain. And just like Christopher Columbus, the explorer that came from Spain, they had reasons to come to America. And I want you to underline, why did they want to come to the America? They had several reasons to come here. I wanted to underline this part that settlers who arrived in New Spain came for several different reasons. And one of the reasons was that they wanted to teach Native Americans about Christianity. They were Catholic, so they wanted to teach Native Americans about Christianity. Other colonists came to start farms and businesses to search for to search for gold and silver. And also they wanted to set up governments in America. But all this, you remember that a cause always has an effect, or an action always will have a reaction or a consequence. What was the consequence of all those explorers coming to America? What was the consequence for Native people? Do you think they were, or they had good consequences or bad consequences? The Native Americans, the people that were living in America, they didn't have good results. I want you to read the last paragraph. And it says, the Spanish takeover of New Spain brought harsh changes to Native Americans. What were those changes? Well, many Native people were killed by the conquistadors. Others died from diseases that the explorers brought to the country. And the native people who survived often lost their lands and properties, and the Spanish settlers forced many Native Americans to work against their will in mines and on farms in New Spain. So if you see, they didn't have good consequences for Native Americans. Why? Because when the explorers came to America, Native Americans were killed, or they got some diseases and also they died because of the diseases or the illnesses, just like what we are experiencing with the coronavirus. And the native people who survived lost the properties and they were forced to work in farms and in mines. So it was not something good for native people to have all these explorers in their lands. So question number 7 says cause and effect. Fill in the missing effects in the graphic organizer. By this side, we have the cause. So what you are going to find is the effect. This one is what happened, and this one is the result. So in the cause we have, in the first one, Spain sets up the colony of New Spain. What happened when Spain started to make settlements in America? What was the result of that? I will give you the first one and you're going to do the second one. What happened when Spain started to make settlements in America? When Spain started to make the settlements in New Spain, many settlers came to the America. That one was the effect. So they started to come more and more settlements into the Americas. So the second cause, this one you are going to do it, sorry. You are going to do it by yourself. In the second cause we have Native American land is taken over by Spanish settlers. So what was the effect of that? What happened when they were taking the lands of the native people? So write the effect in here and remember to do the got it section. Number 8 and number 9 are for you to do it. Complete all the questions of this lesson and send me the picture by WhatsApp. See you guys in the next class of tomorrow.